Okay, do you know that the finance minister of Japan spoke up a few days ago? His name is Tarzo Azu. Tarzo Azu, the finance minister of Japan. What did he say? He said, elderly people should hurry up and die. Elderly people should hurry up and die. Can you imagine? A top-ranking government official will tell you about this. Supposing that it will also be the official pronouncement from a high-ranking cabinet member of the president in this country. Hurry up and die. Why? Why did Minister Tarasu Aso say that? Because he said, the problem in Japan today is not purely economic. The main problem in Japan today is aging population. As of 2013, this year, 25% of people in Japan are now between 65 and above. Imagine, for every 4 people in Japan, 1 is already an elderly, 65 above, and the next one is already 50 above. The remaining is already 40 above, and the one below 40. Aging population. So he said, Minister Tarso said, can you imagine, for every old Japanese, how many millions, of course they're talking about yen, how many millions they are going to spend to support this old and dying Japanese? And lucky enough, if you go to Japan, you're Japanese, they have a very high age before they die, no? Meaning, they die like early 80s or late 80s, some at 90s, even some at 100. Why? Of course, the culture of Japanese, the kind of food they're eating, makes them to last even longer than us. While in the Philippines, if you don't know, in the Philippines today, lately, the average age for a man, Filipino, to die is already 65. But for woman, Filipino woman, is already 75. This is a little bit higher if you try to look up the data in 1950 by the NCSO, National Census Statistics Board in 1950. Men, in those years, they just reached the age of 54, then they die. Women, the age of 64, 65, they die. But now, men, 65, women, 75 or even 76. You see now? And what could be the reason for that? Of course, because of medical advancement. Thanks to God for giving us all the gadgets, all the instruments. Aside from very accurate laboratories, we now have the, transplants, kidney transplant, bypasses in the heart, all the possible medications available, MRI, etc., which were never available 50 or 60 years ago. However, despite the advances in medicine, for the Japanese, this is bad. This is something bad because more and more Japanese will be returning to become senior citizens. That's why in Japan, if you can see anybody 65 above, oh, the government is already watching you. Imagine, elderly should hurry up and die. But here in the Philippines, thanks to God, we value our old. We value our old people. Like here in Cebu, do you know? In this current administration, wow, you're happy if you're already a senior citizen. Why? You'll have your card. You can enjoy 10%, 15%, 20% in your medicines. Whenever you go, you take transportation, you go to a restaurant. Plus, the mayor is giving you 10,000 pesos a year, etc., etc. But not in other countries like very rich countries like Japan, Europe. For them, having old people is a burden. Burden, economic burden to the government. And maybe to the families. That's why if you go to America, Mama, Mommy, Daddy, you're already 65, you're already 70. What do you mean? You mean now, we will now bring you to the home for the aged, to the hospice care. That's it. But in the Philippines, thanks to God, we still have a very close-knit family. It's very good. It's our culture. It's our tradition. But sometimes, in one household, there are 4 generations. No? The lolo, the grandpa, the grandma, the grandparents, the parents, the apo sa tuhod, which is also not good in some occasion, in some instances. But nevertheless, that's it. If this is happening in Japan, I am sure this might also happen to other countries surrounding Japan. Like, we'll now talk about China. China now currently has 1.4 billion people. 1.4 billion people. That's why China is number 2 now in economy. USA number 1, China number 2, Japan number 3. Japan slided to number 3 years ago. And according to some business analysts, before the year 2020, which is just 7 years from now, China will become number 1 in terms of economy. Economic power will be the sleeping giant, China. However, here's a certain lady called Wang Xia. Wang Xia. Who is Wang Xia? Wang Xia is the chairman of the National Population and Family Planning Program in the entire China of 1.4 billion people. He said, we must unwaveringly adhere to China's one-child policy as a national policy to stabilize the low birth rate as the primary task. Meaning, because there were speculations that, China will now give in to the pressure and will perhaps allow 2 children per couple. But here is this lady, Wang Xia, said, no way. Do not expect that the Communist government of China will give way to some pressures to allow 2 children per couple. No, only 1 child per couple. Grabe. 1 child. Despite China is now very rich. You go to Beijing, you go to Shanghai, you go to Hong Kong, all the major cities in China. Economically, my goodness, you go to Shanghai today, more than 1,000 high-rise buildings were constructed simultaneously, 50-story, 60-story, 1,000 buildings constructed simultaneously in 1 year. See, the economic makeup of that country today. But despite all the economic achievements, nothing, no hope that rich parents in these cities, in this big country, continent of China, will ever allow 2 children or 3 children. Government said, stick to 1 child per couple. And what is worse, we were told that once you have delivered your first child, whether it's a girl or a boy, immediately the mother is ligated. So there's no way. So if the child dies because of, is there dengue in China? I don't know. If the child dies of any very dangerous disease, might have carcinoma at the age of 4, parents are childless. But China will never give in. Now, talking about China and the Philippines, especially under the RH law, I have to warn you, in the matter of weeks, it's in the RH law, they will utilize the media, print, TV, radio, to promote the 2 children per couple. Well, there's no need for that, because you see, you're aware that every time you view your television, every time advertisements popping up, you can only see 1 child, maximum 2 children that you can see in television. In this country, you cannot be allowed to project your own advertisement showing 3 children, 4 children, 5 children, only 1, only 2. Di ba? Pag ma-advertise sila ng produkto, whether it's a fast food, whether it's a house, they will always project 1 or 2 children only. That is bringing in very subtle message to the young that for you to be rich, when you grow old, when you decide to become a parent, be sure you only have 1 child or maximum 2 children. This is now the mind and hearts of our young people. It is what we call as the product of contraceptive mentality. To have a child is a burden. Only 1, 2, perfect. But remember, any country with only 2 children or less dies. This is very crucial for us Filipinos. Now, finally, my dear friends, the other day, the President of the United States of America, President Obama, delivered his State of the Nation address. Prior to that, he made a comment addressed to the Boy Scouts of America. Obama said, Boy Scouts should lift the ban on homosexuality. Can you imagine? This biggest organization of boys, elementary or even high school, will now allow active homosexuals in that organization. I heard a lot of parents complaining or saying that maybe, doctor, the reason why we have double, quadruple the number of boys who become homosexuals because we no longer have the Boy Scouting. Boy Scouting is no longer compulsory, and we already removed the Citizens Army Training, Cat 1 in the high school. Plus, we already have removed completely the ROTC. With all of these three, I'm sure this has contributed a lot why youngsters tend to become homosexuals, to become gays, etc. Of course, we are not fighting homosexual. We are not saying anything to degrade our brothers, sisters who might be suffering from this problem. No. But the thing is, in the Boy Scouts, like in America, when you see Boy Scout, this is for, shall we say, an organization designed to really train young boys to become real men, to prepare themselves psychologically, emotionally, physically, intellectually, as future leaders of a community, future leaders of the country. No, muna projection or purpose of Boy Scouting. In the Philippines, so sad. Not like 20 years ago, 10 years ago, we have thousands and thousands of Boy Scouts, but now just 10% of the number of boys because Boy Scouting is no longer compulsory as it was before. And so you have to pray that Boy Scouting will remain firm, will go against the wishes of their own president. Because if that will be allowed in America, that can also be happening here in the Philippines. We want strong, spirited, young boys to become young men later on to run our country as future leaders. By the way, finally, my friends, the Speaker of the House of the Representatives, Speaker John Bonner, Speaker of the House in America today, he said, human life is not an economic or political commodity, and no government on earth has the right to treat it as such. Meaning, abortion is non-negotiable for this kind of leader, a Republican Speaker of the House. He said during the March for Life 2013, human life is not a commodity or political commodity or economic commodity, and no government on earth has the right to treat it as such. Finally, my friends, the late Holy Father Pope John Paul II said, if you want equal justice for all and true freedom and lasting peace, then defend human life. If you want equal justice for all and true freedom and lasting peace, then defend human life. I hope, my dear friends, we learn something to ignite us, to stand up based on our faith, based on our conviction, to commit ourselves to defend life, to defend the family, and to defend our faith. Thank you very much. God bless us all.